Okay, so this exam here was given in spring of 2016 um, as exam one. Uh, I have posted it on Canvas. Um, that's not the right one. Let's go to this one. This is the calendar, but we can get there if you go to our website and go into the announcements. And right here is a zip file that contains both the M file and the data file required for this exam. So a few pointers about the exam before I get started. It must be taken at a testing center. I believe there are 4 testing centers available for you to take them at. Uh, I think I gave you a link to schedule the test. If not, I will post another one after this review's done. You have 2 hours to take the exam once you have it up and running on your computer, and they've gotten good enough at the testing center that it only takes a minute or two to get it up and running. Save often. Can't stress enough. Save often. I hate getting stories from students saying the computer crashed and they lost everything, or they don't know where they saved it and couldn't find it. Just make sure that you save it and you know where it's at, and that you turned in the file that was worked and not the empty file that you start with. That's been done more times than I'd like to know. Is an open book. However, the book you'll receive for MATLAB is an electronic version of the textbook given to you by the testing center. I have not seen it, so I do not know what version and how it operates. Get with the testing center before you start taking the exam. Make sure you're familiar with the textbook before you get going. You may use the help features in MATLAB, and you can even go so far as going into the reference pages. Um, that brings up even more detailed help than the help feature inside of the editor or the command window. All that is legal to use. I also, starting this semester, because I had one student last semester, each test request the ability for scratch paper. So the testing center will allow you to have scratch paper. However, they will collect it at the end of the exam and shred it. You will upload your exam to a quiz inside of Canvas. The testing center has all of the passwords to get into that to upload. Did I leave anything out? I don't think so. Okay, so in the testing center you will get a live editor file. It looks similar to this, only the test we're given this semester has 8 problems. This one only had 7. I would prefer, if you can, to work inside of the live editor. However, if you're not familiar enough with it, I do not want you losing a lot of your time trying to figure out the live editor. Hopefully by watching this video you'll see how the live editor works and you'll be comfortable with it. If not, you can always come up here to the save feature, do a save as, change the type to an M file, and then save it and work in the M file. If you can go ahead and do that, and once I get it I'll convert it back to a live editor because I prefer that for grading exams. Not so much on the homework, but I do like it on the exams. So the points for each problem are listed in the exam, so don't sit here and spend an hour and 45 minutes on a 3-point problem while a 20-point problem sitting down here that was a lot easier to do. I do give partial credit, so but I do not grade commented code. I would much rather you produce errors over here to show me that you were trying rather than comment it out, because I just don't know what to grade if it's been commented. So try it, and if you're close, I'll give you as many points as I feel you can get from a partial non-functioning code. So without further ado, I will work the spring 2016 Engineering 1030-1040 Exam 1. Note that all equations are not necessarily written in a format that MATLAB likes. Okay, so problem number 1 is worth 12 points. 3 points. Create a vector named x with 11 regularly spaced values starting from 6 and ending at 30. So because we know how many we want, we're going to start with an equal sign. We'll use the lin space, which is short for linear spacing. We're going to start at 6, go to 30, and we want 11 points. Part B, create a vector y starting at 0 and ending at 2 pi with a regular spacing of pi fifths. Okay, because we know what the spacing is this time, we can just do a simple code here that separates our beginning number by and the increment and the ending number with colons, 2 times pi. Okay. Part C, create a array Z whose first row contains the values stored in X, so we'll need a square bracket, and the first row is X, and whose second row contains the value stored in Y. And because we're going to a new row, we use the semicolon instead of a space. A space puts them as columns, the semicolon does rows and Y. And you notice I'm not putting semicolons on the end of these because I do not want to suppress the output to the window. I want to make sure that I see the output when we're done. Okay, so part D, create a vector W for having 4 logarithmically spaced values ranging from 10 to 10,000. So this is going to be the log space, and the inputs for the log space are the logarithmic value of the numbers we're looking for, beginning, ending, and how many we want. 4. So there is the first problem, and now we'll execute it, and hopefully we won't get any red points. Okay, so here is the first one, the second one, and everything looks hunky and dory. So there's problem 1. I just earned 12 points. Yay! Any questions? Okay, we'll go on to part 2, problem 2, 20 points. Okay, the power delivered from a voltage source Vs to the load resistance RL is given by the expression P equals I raised to the deuce times RL, where I is the current supplied to the load. The current supplied to the load can be calculated by Ohm's law as I equals Vs divided by Rs plus RL, when Vs, Rs, and those things. Okay, so first off, we want to find the value of a current I. For 50 values of RL between 100 and 1 and 100. Okay, so we're going to say RL is equal to a linear spacing of 1 and 150 values. Now we probably could have just went ahead and done a 1-2-100, but we'll do it that way just because we can. Okay, so we need to define our RS. RS is equal to 50, and I'm going to go ahead and suppress these because I don't want to see these outputs. And this is in ohms, and RL is RL is in ohms too. And our VS is equal to 120 volts. I do not require you to have units, but I like to have them there for myself. I probably ought to start making you guys do units. Well, not on a test. That'd be rude. That would be rude, crude, and socially unacceptable. Okay, so I is equal to VS. Okay, and RL is a vector, therefore we have to do the dot divide. Otherwise, it's going to scream at us. RS plus the RL. Please suppress your results. Okay, I suppressed my results. That's suppressing. Okay, so there's the first part. Part B, find the power for all 50 of these RL values. Suppress your results. Okay, so our power is going to be taken from this equation here. We're just going to borrow this and bring it down here because we are lazy and we're running out of time. The test's almost over. Now those, oh, that's in the wrong spot. That's going to be multiplied by 0.2. It's not necessarily required to do those for this because, well, no, it is. I is a vector and R, so I do have to have the dot multiplies because I is a vector and RL is a vector, so we got two vectors. They need to be element by element, and we're going to suppress that output. But if this was a scalar, or this one was a scalar, it would be okay to go ahead. Well, not if this one was a vector, but if this was a scalar, you could still do the dots in there and it'll still run just perfectly fine. Anyway, onward and downward. Create an array called results with RL in the first column. Okay, so we have results equals in the first column is RL, and it is currently a row vector, so we're going to transpose it. And now because we're second column, we can either do a comma or a space. Either one doesn't matter because it'll put it in another column. And this I is in the second column, it needs to be transposed, and P in the last column. Do not suppress the results. Did it work? Hey, look at that. Is that cool or what? Say, yeah, that's cool. Okay. Oh, look, it goes in deeper there because there's 50 points there. Okay, problem number 4. Find the value of the load resistance RL that would result in the maximum power P using supplied by the source to the load. Only consider the 50 calculated values. In other words, which value RL that we use in these calculations resulted in the maximum value P. Okay, so because we want to know which P based on something else, we need to assign our output to two variables, and I like using location. You can use your own variable name you want in here for the second one, element number, whatever, but that's what this is it just tells us where the maximum value is found in P. Okay, and then I'm going to suppress this, so I'm going to now output my map max P, and then nope, not time, RL at max P is going to equal RL location. I think I missed an A there. And boom, there we go. So our max power was 71.998 and the RL at that was 49.49. And we could verify that if we came up here and looked. P is the last column here. 71 is going to be the largest value right there. Yep, cool, it works. We could also get this at another place. Oh no, yeah, we can, because RL is part of the result vector, so we could also come up here and look in the result vector if we spelt it right. You're an idiot, thank you. And you'll see that what? Oh, because I forgot the S. There we go. It's the same because this is the same vector that is up here, so it gives the same. And when you put in just a single, I realize this is not part of the test. This is just a teaching thing. When you put in a single value to a matrix, when you're looking for matrix, usually it's row, comma, column. But if you just do one, it's going to go down, start in the first column, count down, and then move to the second column, the third column, and so forth until it reaches the number that you input. So that's why that works. Okay, problem number 4. Plot the power to the function of the load resistor RL. I'll put the P on an RL. Okay, so we're going to plot, and we want RL on the X and P on the Y. Use the toolbar of the figure to mark the point of the machine. Annotate the graph off of this final grid. Okay. So then we'll have a title here. I don't know, what do we want to call this? P versus RL. X label is going to be power. And what is our units of power up here? Does it specify? You should know that. Yes, I know I should know that. Power delivery voltage. Ohm's law. It doesn't. What a lousy test. Okay. And then the X, there's no O in label, trust me. And this is going to be load resistance. And this one is in ohms. I do know this one. And then it also wanted a grid, so we'll turn the grid on. Okay, and then I don't know if the drop down menu works so well in here. About right there is the maximum value. Look at that. Maximum value. I mean, I nailed that sucker. Okay, and then I don't know if that's going to work in here. We may have to pop this out. There we go, and then do a save as JPEG figure right there. And there it is, untitled figure. Okay. Is that cool or what? Say yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, thanks. Oh, I'm tired, guys. Sorry. Okay, next problem. Problem number 3. 2 points. Create variables named x and y, which are evenly spaced vectors with 100 elements each from -5 to 5 for both x and y. Okay, so we're going to say x. Oh, wait a minute. We're going to. Oh, we got to clear up there. So we're going to say x equals. Again, we'll do the linear spacing, going from -5 to 5 with 100 values, and we're going to suppress that, and then we're going to say y is equal to x, and that one's suppressed. Okay, that was easy. Easiest 2 points ever made. Okay, use mesh grid function to create x and y matrices. Okay, so mesh grid is going to be our output variables. I'm going to use the same name so that that overrides them, and it'll work better if that was a comma. And then we're going to do the mesh grid, and our inputs are x and y, and we'll output suppress that, and then compute z, and we're going to borrow this again. I like to borrow a lot. And then we'll just come in here and put our dot multiplies where they got to be, and our dots above for the powers, dots above for the powers, dots for the biggest reason I like to copy and paste the equations is because 9 times out of 10 I'll write them incorrectly and it don't work well. And we're going to suppress that output. Okay, so there's a 9 points. Create a 2 by 2 subplot matrix Use mesh, surf, contour, and contour plotting, contour F plotting functions to create three-dimensional plots of Z. Don't forget the titles and labels for each plot. Okay, so we need a subplot, and it wanted a 2 by 2, which means there's 4 plots. That's 2 rows of plots by 2 columns of plots. So the first one, we're going to do the mesh, and we're going to go X, Y, and Z, and we're going to title this to be mesh. Somebody's phone's ringing. If that's for me, I'm not here. X, Y, want Z. Oh, let's make it a big Z. I mean, you can get creative with your labels. I really don't care. And we're going to borrow all this because we don't want to have to retype all of that over and over. So the next one, we're going to go to our second plot, and we're going to do surf and turf, and then everything else is still the same. And then we'll come down here for our third plot. This is a contour. And then our final plot is going to be in number 4. And this one is, what was it, contour F? F. Something's not right there. I got too many filed up letters here. Oh. And then we're going to cross our fingers and hope it runs. In a season. What? Oh. Right there, we gotta have a dot multiplied to that too. And see, this is why it specifies that it's not necessarily MATLAB code, because it don't always work. There we go. And there's our plots. Yeah, I've never heard of a contour F. I thought maybe they were throwing one at me. Oh, because I got a U in there. There we go. Tired. I was in bed real early last night. Unusual. Any questions on that? That was just a whole bunch of typing. Copies and pastes. Okay. Problem number 4, 6 points. The surface area of sphere is where our create an M-file function called. Okay, so when I do my functions, I like to copy this down, and because we're in the I'm going to bring down the instructions with me so I know what I'm trying to program here. So we have a function that has results is equal to, so this is called SA underscore sphere, that has an R for an input and returns SA. Your code should accept R as either a scalar or an array. So our results is going to equal 4 divided by 3 times pi times r dot raised to the 3, suppress it, and end it. And we also want to have volume okay, so we're going to copy this down here, and that needs to be function is equal to, again, our results, which is called V cylinder. I forgot the I, stupid. Thank you. And this has that accepts R and H. Okay, and both inputs should be expected either regular and if not so we need the mesh grid. So we're going to do RH is equal to mesh grid of R and H. Mesh grid. And you left the edge. Oh man. And then now we gotta have our results is equal to pi times r dot raised to the 2 times h, and that's going to be a dot. Oops. Won't. Then we have to end it. And then our final one here is the surface area of a cylinder. What did you do? You're supposed to copy it. I tried. What? Come on, you can do this. And then this one is called cylinder. And it has R and H also. Okay, so now this one is going to return both. Oh. So this one we need to return two values. So it's going to return the surface area and the volume. Okay, and seeing as how we've already written these equations up here, we're going to borrow this one. And we're going to borrow this one. Only this one's we're going to change to surface area. That needs to be a capital A. And this one here is going to be volume. We're still going to mesh grid just in case things come in unevenly. And And then we're going to come up here and pray that everything works. Okay, so lowercase c's, lowercase s. Okay, so where are we? Test your code with what? I don't know. What are we supposed to test a code with? Okay, so we're supposed to test our code with a vector of r equals 1 to 3. So we're going to do SA sphere of r, and then this one here we're supposed to do r equals 1 to 5, which means I'm going to have to update that file that you guys got because it doesn't have this information in there. Well, that's pretty stupid. I know I are, but I was tired. And then we want V of cylinder, sending it R and H. And then this one, we're going to do
cylinder.
Oh, too many E's. I got too many. So this one we're going to do a couple ways. We're going to have R equal 10 and H equal 30. Those values don't matter, but we're going to do a couple. We're going to do not max. We're going to do, what are we going to do? What's the name of that? Oh, cylinder. Send it R and H, and let's actually put surface area is going to equal that, and then we are also going to do a double one to the volume, and we should too many equal signs. There are and H and boom 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 boom. Okay, cool, no red marks. So that one, I'm assuming these numbers are right. And see, by doing to just one variable, it only returned one, the first output variable of the vector or function, and when we assigned it to 2, it gave us both of them. Cool. Any questions on that? I didn't think so. Cool. We'll move on to the next one. Actually, if you got questions, I will answer them. Unless you want to ask me why I'm so stupid. Okay. Problem number 5, 10 points. Create an anonymous create one of them. Their functions called my function. Okay, so anonymous functions, the purpose for those are they go inside of the M file. Your main script file is for something if you want to use a few times, but you don't want to rewrite and you don't want to have a separate M file for your function. So it's pretty easy. You just do the say my function is equal to, and then you do an @ sign followed by your variable inside of parentheses, and then your equation. We'll go ahead and type this one out. Times x raised to the 2 minus 100 times x plus 3. So there's our function. Then you just call it up just like you would any other MATLAB function. Use the fplot function to create a plot from 4 to 6 to determine the appropriate location of this minimum. Don't forget to add appropriate annotations. X left labels and the grid. And okay, so we do an f plot here. We'll go f plot, and then in here my function, not that one, this one. Then we want our range from 4 to 6, and then give it a title. Oops, Control Z, Control Z. There we go. And that's one thing I like about the live editor is that it guesses what you're going to complete with, but it doesn't put the cursor at the end of the line when you're done. So this is going to be X, and the Y label is going to be F of X. And you need a and a grid. They really like those grids. I didn't write this exam, so bear with me. Okay, fmin n function to determine the maximum or minimum value. Okay, so to find the value in this range. So it's just the fmin boundaries, and it's going to be equal to my function, and we want it to look in the range of I don't know, let's start with our given range first and see what it looks like when we plot. What? Oh, clear CLF. Oh, it doesn't. This is just a warning. So if we want to zero in on that, we could get a little bit closer with this. I don't know if that's going to change much if we go, because it's obviously the answer is 5, but you can look at your plot and come in a little bit closer, and a 5.2, and look at that, we got the same answer. Cool, isn't it? Say, yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, you only have 2 more problems to sit here and listen to me through. Okay, a company must purchase 5 kinds of materials. The data quantity purchased .dat gives the price company pays per ton of material, along with the number of tons purchased in the months of May and June and July. And there's a whole bunch of okay, 3 points. Load the data file into MATLAB. Okay, the data file is right there. I don't want to do you that way. So we're going to use the load command because it tells us to. We want to load quantity purchased .dat. Okay, and then because I don't want to rewrite all that stuff over and over again, I'm going to rename it. And suppress it. Okay, and name the resulting matrix. Yeah, well, I did, and then I changed it to a better name. Okay, 3 points. Create a 5x3 matrix containing the amount spent on each item for the month by extracting it. From the quad. Okay. Okay, so what this is real. So what it wants us to do here is to create a 5x3 matrix containing the amount spent on each item. Okay, so this wants us. Okay, well we're gonna it wants us to get rid of this column here. It just wants um, I honestly don't know what they want. Let's let's just call this spent is going to equal to our data, and the quantities we bought are going to be all of the rows from column 3, because the first one is the material, the second one is the price, to we don't know how many are in there, so we'll just put end, and that'll take it to the end of the matrix, last column. Okay, so what was the total spent in May, June, and July? Okay, so I'm going to do one more here. The cost is going to be equal to data, all the rows in column 2. That just makes it so much easier. So there's a few ways that you can do part C here. Total spent in May, June, and July. I'd have to do a mesh grids. Okay, well, we'll just pull out. So we're going to have May is going to equal the cost times the first column in data, or spent. Right, that's May. Yep. June is going to be cost times all the rows in the second column, and July is equal to cost times spent all the rows in the third column. Okay, what was the total spent on material in the 3-month period? Okay, well, actually, this one's the total spent in each one, so we got to add all that together and do a comma there, and this will total up. Go. And then for the total for the 3 months, that's going to equal May plus June plus July. So spent on all materials. What's the difference between those two questions? That does make no sense. Okay, so let's count up how much material we did. So it's going to be the sum of the spent put into a single vector. You forgot the equal sign, stupid. And then I shouldn't have to dot times that, but we'll do it anyway. All material. Okay. I have a feeling that D and E are going to be the same answer. Boom, 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 boom.
So on D, it's asking for on each item, so you should have five totals, I think.
On each items in the 3 months. I think I might have these two backwards. Well, no, this is what is the total cost spent on each material. You know what? This is a stupid question. It's not worded very well, and I think I remember this uh, during the exam, and I basically didn't grade everybody. If they attempted it, they got full credit on this because it was poorly worded um, on each material. So there's so yeah, I guess it would be going across, wouldn't it, not down? But that ouch, ouch. Well, this is I think this here's more of the answer for this one because this gives you the cost. No, this is screwy. Um, I think what we want to do here is this is just how much was. Whoa! Don't do that. Okay. Um, we're gonna transpose. We're gonna do a sum of spent transposed. That'll give us the cost of that. Let's see what happens when we do that. Let's see, there's the total amount spent, and so now if we multiply that by the costs, multiplied by cost transposed, is that going to work? There, that's how much was spent on each material in the 3 months. And we can figure that out. What's 10, 15 times, that's 4,500. Yep. So I think you are correct. That is what was wanted on that. The total spent on each material in the 3 months. So this would be each materials, and that's way too much for. And was the total spent on all materials in the 3 months? That's going to be just the sum. The total amount spent is going to be the sum of total spent $22,550. That's the way it's supposed to be. See? That was a stupid problem. I have worked the exam you're going to take next week, and there's nothing that stupid on there. Okay. Problem number 7. Consider the following x, y, z vectors. Oh, more plotting. 4 points plot x on the x-axis and y on the z-axis on the same plot. Oh, this one has to deal with um, multiple um, 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 axes. Um, oh yeah, I'm thinking. I'm gonna have a drink of water. Having different scales on the y-axis. That's the words I was looking for. So, um, what we want to do here then is plot on the x-axis and y-axis and z on the same plot. Um, so we're going to do a plot of x comma y, and this wants the same plot, x and y and z on the same plot. Lines representing y should be red. Okay, so this wants some formatting here. Should be red, solid, and the data points should be circles. And x and z is going to be green. I think G is green, dashed, and no data points. Okay. Add appropriate legend title. Okay, so we're gonna do a legend. Did I spell it? I didn't. And the first one is the sine of x. And the second one is the cosine of x. And then a title. Trig functions. X label is going to be theta, and it is in radians. And the y label is going to be f of x. Okay, here. I knew there was a y. Plot x on x-axis and y on the left, x-axis and w on the right. Where did w come from? Oh, w is tangent. Okay, right here. So, well, let's look at this, see how pretty it is, if it worked. Yeah, that's cool. Oh, we could probably capitalize our T here, make it look somewhat. Okay, so down here we want to plot on the left side x and y, and a title. X label is going to be still theta, and it's still in radians. I hope I haven't put you guys to sleep yet, because this is boring. And then y label is going to be on the left side is sine of x, right? I think sine of x. And now we want to put everything else on the right side, so this is a new command that's just come up in the last couple of years. This is now a YY axis that changes the axis controls over to the right side. So now when we plot everything, all of the stuff is on the right. X and a W. And we don't need to do a X label or a title because they're the same, but we do need to have a Y label, and this is going to be tangent of X. And just because we've done it on every other stinking plot, we're going to turn the grid on. And we'll make another legend. We'll have sine of x und tangent of x. And then we're going to cross our fingers and pray that it plots. Yes. And that is the exam. I will post this solution on the same site with the um, and the other one, or maybe I'll just put them all in a new announcement. Delete that one. Whoa, you okay?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
my tablets are heating, so I had to put a fan on it.
Ah. Any questions on this? Like I say, I did do the exam that you guys are taking, and I think it's ridiculously easy. Um, well, I don't. I think it only took me like maybe 40 minutes to go through it. If it took
Everything
that,
here looks pretty straightforward.
yeah. Um, and that's and then now that you're done, you'll save this. Um, and submit that in. And see, the good thing about that is you submit the one file and it turns in the one test and all three of the functions.
So can you go back and explain how you saved that, created that function in the M drive again?
How I did, huh?
How you initiated that
This down here.
function in the M file? Yeah.
Um, well, at the end here, I just I hit it down and then I came up here and did a section break,
Oh, okay.
and then that created a new area because the functions have to be at the very end of the live editor, the live script file. And so where it was still going, just break it, and that put that at the end so it'll work. Um, I, man, I hesitate to say it, but if the software at the testing center through, or well, actually all access, if it is the 2017B, if you put all your functions at the end of the M file, um, I'll accept that too, because when I grade, I'd never just full out run everybody's programs. I do them one cell at a time, so they should work if we do that too.
Okay, so when I do the chapter 6 homework, I put my functions at the end just like this.
If you're in a live editor,
Okay.
and you can in the M file too, if you're 2017B, um, or newer. But earlier versions of that, it won't run. And if it won't run, how can you check if the output is what you're expecting? If that makes any sense.
Yes.
Yeah. So you just verify that at the end of the quiz.